Welcome back into the Sports Memo podcast. Sorry about the technical difficulties. We got Nick Borrman on the podcast, and we're breaking down the last couple games here of the soccer slate and also throwing in some golf at the end. Make sure to check out Nick on sportsmemo.com, and we have his coupon code, which is Borrmanhalf at checkout, and you can get his 5% La Liga game of the week and his Century Tournament of Champions 5-pack, that's soccer and golf, for half off. Borrmanhalf at checkout. That's Borrmanhalf. Borrmanhalf at checkout. You can get both of those 2-for-1, half off there. Nick, let's start off with Vallecano at Valladolid. Is that correct?
Yes, pretty close. Rayo Vallecano at Valladolid. Yes, very close.
Valladolid minus 0.5, total of 2.25. Have it this one, man.
All right. Both these teams were promoted from La Liga 2 last season, and so far Valladolid has had the better results. They've with just 6 losses in their first 17 games, and they're comfortably out of the relegation zone to stay up here for next season. They had a run of 6 games back in September, October, where they went undefeated with 4 wins and 2 draws, and that's pretty much been most of their success this season. But since then, they've just 1 win in their last 7 games and are actually winless in their last 4 home games. Vallecano, on the other hand, they just won their last match against Levante, and they've won 2 of their last 4 games. Overall in the year, they've only won 3, so they've been playing better as of late. The 2 losses were against top-of-the-table teams, including a 0-1 loss at Real Madrid. So they've been playing much better of late. And really, the only difference between these 2 teams on the year has been Vallecano's defense, as they conceded the second most goals in the league with 32. Otherwise, these 2 teams are pretty even. They know each other very well. They played in La Liga 2 the last few seasons, and then their 4 meetings the last 2 years. Each team has won once, and there have been 2 draws. So a play on Rayo Vallecano and the catching the half a goal, makes the most sense to me, and what I think should be a very close game. Anytime you get 2 teams that are evenly played like that, it just makes a lot of sense to take that half goal. And when a game can end in a draw very easily, it's a good way to catch some extra value.
All right, Nick, we got Villarreal at A-Bar up next, minus 0.25, total of 2.25.
Yeah, so this is an early one, 6 a.m. actually Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to catch the highlights here, you better get up nice and early in the morning on Sunday. This is Villarreal's second game of the weekend. They're playing on Thursday in the game we started off the pod with. So a lot of what I decided to do here, if anything, is going to be waiting and watching to see how they perform that first game. There's bottom of the table in standings. They're number 18 out of 20, but they're not nearly as bad as that record indicates. And they actually just made a manager change 2 games ago. So, a lot of times when teams make these manager changes midseason, there's an instant boost to morale, to players trying to impress the manager. And it'll be interesting to see how they perform now that they've had 2 weeks off to really start to work on the manager's tactics. They interviewed some of the players over the holiday break about what's been happening in the locker room and how the new manager change has been working, and it sounds like the guys are excited. They said they've had the 10 days working over the holiday break has really been good to get the tactics down, because they're playing more with a compact line and their lines are closer together than what they're used to playing. So as they get used to these new formations, it'll be interesting to see how they really come out and play against Real Madrid. If they come out with any sort of look like they had last year, because again last year they were top of the table team, then I think what I would do here is look to take them on the money line. Right now they're actually plus 225 on the money line to win this game, as Ibar is actually a slight favorite, laying a minus a quarter of a goal. So that's obviously a big number. If they come out and they look decent against Real Madrid, I think that might be the way to play this game. But I really won't make a play on this game until we watch Thursday and see how they look. So if I choose to play it, I'll probably be right at the end of this game. And then, of course, I'll put something out on my page. But right now, got to wait and see on this one.
We got Atletico Madrid up next versus Sevilla. And it's a pick'em price here, Nick. Total of 2.25.
Yes, Atletico Madrid, Sevilla. 2 of the top teams in the table. So this is definitely the marquee matchup of the weekend. Atletico Madrid is unbeaten in their last 13 games. and they earned their qualification to the round of 16 for the Champions League. So the top level quality this team can have. They're the number one defensive club in La Liga again, just as they were last year. They're the only other club not named Barcelona or Real Madrid to win this league in the last 14 years. So just to get another idea of how good they really are. They allow the least amount of shots on goal per game at just 3, compared to the league average of 4.4. Offensively, they don't put up the shots numbers like a Barcelona or Real Madrid do, but they do have the second highest conversion rate. So even though they don't get off their shots, they're actually still scoring up there with the big guys, just because their chances are a little bit better quality. Sevilla was able to qualify for the Europa League this year, and they just qualified for their playoff round as well. They finished 7th in the league last year, but they look much improved already this year. They actually had the lead in the league a couple weeks ago. Barcelona is now back on top, but they're still number 3 in the league right now. They've scored 30 goals so far and conceded only 17, while last year they actually only scored 49 on the entire year, so well over halfway to that mark, and they conceded 58. So both sides of the ball, they look much improved. Atletico Madrid beat Sevilla both games last year, but I don't think we'll necessarily be seeing that same result here. I think it could go either way. So I don't really have a play and a look on the side here, but I'm thinking with the defensive prowess of both of these teams, I think under is the way to go. I could see one goal winning this game or possibly even just a 1-1 draw. So I'm looking at the under here in this game.
All right, Nick, last game up, we got Bilbao at Celta Vigo. And Celta Vigo, I believe, minus 0.25. They're laying and a total of 2.25 or 2.5, depending where you're shopping, Nick.
Yep. So Bilbao, they've really had a bad start to the year. They're number 17 in the table. They have just 2 wins so far this year, but they've managed 10 draws, which is pretty surprising. So they actually have more draws right now than they do wins or losses combined. A lot of stats here for you on this one, Drew. They're averaging just 3.3 shots on goal per game, while conceding 4.4. So over a full goal more they're giving up than they're taking. While Vigo is the opposite, averaging 4.3 shots on goal per game at home while conceding 3.3. So again, going back to pods from before, we're talking about 25 to 30% more of a chance for the home team here to get a goal off than the opponents is big. And then on top of getting those goal chances, Bilbao is only scoring one goal every 3.8 shots, and conceding 1 point for every 2.9 shots. And the league averages for those are 3.5. So it's kind of that situation where Celta Vigo should be getting more shots on goal, and then when they do get the shots, they should be converting more of those shots on goal. So as most of us in this business do, we look at all sorts of angles and trying to handicap these games, injuries, schedules, trends, whatever. For me, I like to start with these numbers and really see if they make sense, and then kind of go into injuries and schedules and everything else. But really all this is telling me is we're going to see a lot more volume of shots from Celta Vigo, and over the years so far they've been scoring at a much higher clip. So I think the way to play here, this one, is take Celta Vigo. And because they're only laying a quarter of a goal, what I would do is take them on the money line, which is the same as laying a half a goal, and you're actually getting them somewhere probably about plus 135 to plus 140, which is great value on them.
And guys, we got the soccer portion of the podcast there, and we want to get into a little golf. And remember the coupon code Borrmanhalf that will give you half off his 5% La Liga game of the week, and also his Century Tournament of Champions 5-pack in golf. So you get five of those selections for $30. Also his 5% La Liga game for $30. But with the coupon code Borrmanhalf, it's pretty much half off, so 2-for-1 deal there. Nick, Century Tournament of Champions 5-pack, what does everybody need to know about this tournament? And I guess just have at it as far as what you think the listeners need to know betting-wise for betting golf this weekend.
Okay, so golf's back. Was on holiday break for the last 4 weeks, so excited to have it back. Century Tournament of Champions is it's always a difficult one to handicap purely because of the long holiday layoff for the players. Weekly results, for golf are very important. I mean, players go through hot and cold stretches, and identifying those, those that are playing well or not is really key in trying to figure out a lot of these head-to-head matchups. Luckily, this is a shallow field, as only the previous year winners will qualify for this event. So, as it's named Tournament of Champions, it really is just the tournament of all the champions from last year. So, and with there's no cut this week, so anybody really has a chance to make up ground, even if they start slow. The course, they play in Hawaii at the Plantation Course at Kapalua. If you guys watch golf out there, this is always one of the most fun tournaments to watch if you like big drives. 35 of the top 50 drives recorded on the PGA Tour last year happened here. And the reason is because of they're on the ocean with trade winds. So, I mean, you're seeing 35, 40 mile an hour trade winds on an elevated tee. So the ball is flying. You'll see 400-yard drives on the norm here this week. So it's pretty cool to watch. And the course is really designed for those trade winds. And they have some of the biggest greens on the PGA Tour because otherwise it just would be unfair for these guys. So even though distance is what gets talked about here, the winds really do help make up for those that lack the distance. So distance off the tee is not one of my most important factors this week. Ability to play in the wind is priority number one this week, as the first 3 rounds are actually forecasted to see 30 to 35 mile an hour winds. So you got to be able to strike the ball well. You got to be able to flight the ball down, and that you really have to look into the players to try to figure out who can do that. And I'm also looking at proximity to the hole and putting. As I mentioned, these greens are the biggest on the PGA Tour, so just hitting them isn't really important enough. It's getting them close to the hole and having a chance to make the putts. Dustin Johnson last year, he was the defending champ last year. He was 8th in greens in regulation and 1st in putts per green in regulation. And he only made 3 putts all week over 10 feet, so you really got to be able to hit it close when you get here. One free pick I'd like to give out this week on this tournament is Jon Rahm over Justin Thomas. Rahm is coming in off a win off the Hero World Challenge in Bahamas, which is another venue that has very windy conditions, so proves that he can play during that type of weather. He finished 2nd here last year in his debut, which is not easy to do because this course usually demands familiarity, but he played great. He was 20th in greens in regulation last season and 3rd in birdie average. And in his last 5 starts, he has a win, 2 more top 10s, and his worst finish is a tied for 24th. So strong player. I think he's going to have a big year, and I think he's going to do well this tournament. Justin Thomas is also a great player, no doubt, but I just don't like him this week. I don't think it sets up for him. He's not known as a good win player, and it has 3 appearances in this tournament. He has only finished in the top 20 once. Granted, that was actually a win in 2017, but if you go back to that year, the winds were unusually calm that week, which is not the case this week. Last year, he was slightly behind Rahm in greens in regulation at 45th, but he was still up there in birdie average at number 4. He had a rather lackluster showing at the Hero World Challenge. He finished 12th in a field of 18, and he failed to break 70 in any round. Before that, he struggled to a tied for 36 in his start before that Hero World Challenge. So just one of those situations where he's not quite at the peak. When he gets into mid-season form, he's definitely a player to look out for, but I think Rahm's playing better right now, and I think this course and definitely the weather is setting up in his favor. So official free play for golf this week, Drew, is on Jon Rahm over Justin Thomas. And when you're betting this is it's a head-to-head play on the total score of the tournament. So you'll actually get the bet in. The first round starts on Thursday, and the tournament ends on Sunday. So you'll be sitting on the bet for the 4 days until the end. But Jon Rahm over Justin Thomas, free play of the week.
I like it. And is this a tournament that like all the big names are playing, Nick?
Yeah. It's all the names, or all the guys that won last year usually is all the big names. So you got your Rory McIlroy's, your Dustin Johnson, your Brooks Koepka. But actually, unfortunately, Tiger, he did win last year. He won the last tournament of the year, but he chose to skip this event, as did Justin Rose. So two of the bigger names there are sitting this one out, but everybody else is in here, and it's a fun tournament to watch because it's a small field of only the best players in the world. Definitely fun to watch.
All right, man. And anything else you want to throw out soccer or golf-wise for the weekend?
Well, La Liga is it's a quiet week in soccer this weekend. La Liga is the only league going. So next week we'll be back to recap to preview different leagues. We have all the major leagues return to action from the holiday break. So quiet week this week, but next week we'll be back with probably back to the Premier League and go over the English teams for next week.
So Premier League, maybe next Wednesday or Thursday, sometime in the middle of the week, and also golf for next weekend, or no?
Oh yeah, from here on out we got golf every weekend. So it's fun time of year. Even though it's if you live in the northern part of the country here in the States, you're not thinking of golf. It's certainly golf from here on out for the rest of the summer.
All right, man. And guys, remember the coupon code Borrmanhalf at checkout, and you can get his 5% La Liga play and his Century Tournament of Champions 5-pack for half off. That's $30 off there, guys. And thanks for listening. We will be back tomorrow with the NHL podcast with Andrew McGinnis. Best of luck with your bets. Talk to you tomorrow.